Hi everybody, we're back with What's Up Wednesday, and I will be taking the helm over again this week as we head upstairs and talk to track announcer Murray Slough. Dan McDougall is in Patagonia. You won't be seeing him for a while. Nobody's taking my spots. Let's have a good trip. Upstairs to the announcer's booth. Today we're here with a face you may not have seen, but a voice you must be very familiar with if you listen to any type of Southern Alberta racing for the last 15 years. We're with track announcer Murray Slough. Murray, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, James. It's good to be with you.
That's awesome. So, you've been the track announcer here forever, man. And by forever, I mean you called my first win. You've called stake victories of mine. Not many of them, but born with a grin. Thanks, Dan Seaford. How did you get into it? And you're still here. Tell us about enjoying calling racing, man.
Yeah, it's just at this point, it's a fun side job for me. Mm-hmm. I started in Lethbridge way back in 1993. At the infamous Whoop Up Downs, called quarter horses and thoroughbreds there. Mm-hmm. That's where I lived at the time, was Lethbridge. And then I was able to get a job at Stampede Park in 1998. Mm-hmm. So I came up there and called just harness racing. Mm-hmm. Joe Carberry was calling the thoroughbreds. So that was my introduction sort of to, big time racing. And that was a lot of fun. Called at Stampede Park until it closed. So I actually called the last thoroughbred race there and the last harness race because by the time Stampede Park closed, I was calling both. Then moved on to Alberta Downs where you had that big win.
Absolutely.
And called a few races there in the Lacombe area. And then luckily for me, since I live in Calgary, of course now, Century Downs opened in 2015 and I was able to get the job here. And I've called probably 99% of the races since it's opened. There's been a couple days I've been away, like Sugar called this year at the start of the year, and we had Jason Beam, who's now the track announcer at Tampa Bay, call one day when I was gone, but called pretty much every race we've had here since then. And so yeah, I've been doing it since '93. So we're talking basically almost 30 years at this point.
Absolutely, and you've really been able to see our industry change. I mean, you've gone from the years of guys like Keith Clark dominating.
Absolutely, yep.
Bill Davis was here for a long time ago. Todd Bilby. I mean, a lot of guys have moved on and found either other careers or retired and let some other people make some money. Thanks, Keith. What's that been like, just seeing the change?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about Keith. I mean, from the time I started, and obviously even before I started here, till just a few years ago, Keith Clark was the dominant force in harness racing in Alberta. He basically dominated for 30 years.
Absolutely.
So it is completely different now that he has retired. It's a little bit more wide open. Mm-hmm. You see some stables that are, of course, do pretty well here consistently. Like Kelly Hort, for example, would be one that stands out. Just kind of still have the effort of Codename Cigar Box that he put in last week in my mind, which was unbelievable considering the conditions. But yeah, it is different now. It is a little bit more wide open for guys. Keith used to win pretty much all the stakes or a lot of them. Now I think people have that dream, which they should have, of buying the Alberta bred that's going to be the next stakes winner. And our Alberta bred, stake program is pretty good.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to think, well, I'll get a good horse and then Keith will have a better one, maybe. So that's nice to see. I love this time of year when the younger horses start to come out, right? You start to see some of the 2-year-olds. So that's coming up. And things have changed, but I'm enjoying it still as much as ever. And, just happy to see the industry doing better overall. We have 2 tracks now and, things are a lot more solidified than when we seem to no one ever knew when or where we were going to race next year sometimes, right? That's no good for anyone. I mean, I'm just a small player, but considering, think about the trainers and drivers and the people that own the horses and you don't know where you're going to race. I mean, that's terrible, right? So
Absolutely.
We're way better off now. And just hope to continue on until basically they pry the mic out of my hands, I guess.
Absolutely. And it doesn't sound like it's coming anytime soon, right?
No, hopefully not.
You'll still get to see many more races in the future, but you've got to call Nat Christie's and watched it morph into other races. What's your favorite race? Like when you think back about it, what's your favorite race?
There is one that always stands out in my mind, and it's a fairly well-known race in the fact that it at least it got some YouTube views. And I think when they had the Standardbred Canada had the kind of bracket challenge for best race call in Canada.
Yep.
That was the one that I was on. It was when the Brewster won the Nat Christie.
Absolutely.
That was a pretty big thing because the horse cost $500, and it was the little guy that won. Spud McCormick won and all that. And it was an exciting race because the favorites went at it. The Brewster, of course, goes 5 wide, circles the field. I mean, it's hard to beat that, right?
It's hard to beat that.
So I gave it the best call I could. I think it was a good, decent call and a great race. And so that one does stand out. Obviously, anytime I called the Nat Christie, it was super exciting, or any of the other stake races. But that is the one that really just pops to mind quickly.
No, I would say my most memorable race call of yours. You might hear some laughter in the background because we're in the announcer's booth, and Mr. Grundy, the judge, is just behind us because he was also involved in this most memorable race.
Okay.
It was my first ever lifetime drive at famous Whoop Up Downs.
Right.
It was as muddy
Which
as
I did
it could
call
possibly be, humanly be. It was 98. And being the safe driver I am, when my mare made a break at the head of the stretch in the mud, I moved all the way to the far outside of the track. Unfortunately, Brian Gray made a break, and I did not see him. Brian Gray still has a scar on his back from where I hit him.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
And
I don't remember that.
I went face first into the mud. Horse was completely fine. Mr. Grundy was the first one on scene to help a young James Jungquist, who teary-eyed said, "Judges will never give me a license."
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, hey, somehow you made it past that,
and it was all uphill from there, Murray.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you being here today, man. Actually, just one more thing before we go. You touched on calling races. We have some race callers coming in from out east with some fame behind them.
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Vance Cameron's coming and Mr. Roger Houston's coming.
Right. Two legends, definitely, of the sport.
Any comments on them or that day?
I think it's great. I mean, they're going to be here, so people are going to, it sounds like they're going to have to suffer through me for one race, and then it'll be those guys. So, happy to have them here. Anything we can do to promote the sport here in Alberta, I'm all for it. And looking forward to it. So it's April 23rd.
Yes, sir.
They're going to be here, and they're going to call some races, and I'm just here to sort of, I'll answer any questions they have, give them the right pronunciation of Phil Giesbrecht, and go from there. But we're going to try to build some pick four pools and make it a bit of a competition between the guys. And I love to hear them call, so it's going to be great.
Awesome. Well, anyway, like I said, thank you very much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. This one will have to go out on Twitter so you can see it.
Yes, put it on Twitter. That's where I'll be.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Okay, thanks.